For our first elephant visitor, let's set the stage here. It's October of 2017. We're in Ambion's Klein's camp in Tanzania, watching birds sitting on the little veranda in the front of our room, and all of a sudden I heard elephants somewhere behind us. Oh, she's going to come down here. Hello, Mama. Hello, Mama.
Coming down the steps?
Yes. So I'd be prepared to go back in.
She's literally going to come down
Here
the
she
steps.
comes.
Okay, I'm going to stand right here.
That's exciting. Our next example of an elephant visit takes place in 2015 in Pindavle in KwaZulu-Natal. In this case, the elephant cow decided that she was annoyed by our pulling out onto the road in front of her, and so she gave a few shakes, gave a few bellows, threw off some dust, but instead of going back into the brush the way they usually would, she decided to do something else. Instead, she charges. She bellows and shakes and moves toward us, and eventually Daryl Dell, our guide, has to move our vehicle back because an elephant could turn over even one of these large game drive vehicles. Surprisingly, later on, she decides that she's going to go through the brush, come around behind us, and ambush us. Fortunately, nothing comes of it. Elephants drink as much as 50 gallons of water a day, and in Africa during drought periods, which is what we have now, it may be hard for them to come up with 50 gallons of drinkable water. The plunge pools and swimming pools in lodges are an attractive water source to elephants, and it's not uncommon for them to decide to take a drink when they see nobody around. Back in Pindavle in 2019 in KwaZulu-Natal, we had another interesting experience that demonstrates how much Ellies like plunge pools and pools in general. In this case, the Ellies decided to come up and have a drink out of our plunge pool on a particularly hot day. I'll get here. I'm just outside the door of our lodge at this point, standing on the deck and looking out toward the Ellies, who are perhaps 10 or 12 feet away. Elephants are surprisingly cooperative when they come to these plunge pools, as they are when they come to pools in the wild.
Yeah.
They're really not bothering each other much or striving too much for position. Now we're getting into the territorial imperative. You'll notice that the Ellies are spending more time splashing water on themselves, making mud for mud baths, and doing things other than drinking. The reason for that is that they've drunk enough at this point. This is a very hot day, probably 95 degrees, and because of the heat and because of the parasites and flies, elephants like to splash themselves with water and mud to keep their skin comfortable and to keep themselves cool.
Looks like some big guy's gonna learn to swim. That was funny.
I counted 14.
14 hours.
Two of them are flowers.
The babies aren't very good at throwing water on themselves as the other elephants are, and I suspect that a lot of the water that gets thrown on the babies is just accidental. It doesn't appear that the elephants ever actually try to deliberately wet down the smaller ones. Sometimes most of the elephants would wander off, but a few would stay at the pool. Other times they would all move away and then later on come back. We didn't see any direct sign of intimidation, but the big bull did seem to be the elephant that stayed by himself at the pool the most often.
Getting close. You can close it to keep the heat in. To keep the heat on. Well, then come out.
This particular elephant is a big bull. He's probably staying with the herd because one of the cows is about to come into estrus. Because there's so much mud splashing going on and some water splashing as well, there's actually a lot of mud being thrown around, enough that we had to take a shower when we came in because we got dirty from being splashed by the Ellies. We're whispering in this because, surprisingly enough, even the bull elephants are very tense around people, and if we made too much noise, they tended to shy away. He was also the only elephant that seemed to use the side of the pool to scratch his trunk or scratch his leg or do something other than drinking and splashing around. The obvious question here is, why is the elephant tolerating us, and why are we tolerating being out in the open around the elephant? As long as we weren't noisy or moved a lot, the elephants weren't particularly afraid of us. They were accustomed to people. And as far as us being at risk here, elephants don't really climb things, and we're up on a deck, so we didn't feel uncomfortable either. And the other Ellies are coming back. All in all, these elephants visited our plunge pool 4 different times while we were there. For as hot a day as it is, you can see that the wind has picked up considerably. The baby Ellie is just barely able to get his trunk over the edge of the pool to take a drink. For some reason, even though they've already splashed themselves with nice cool water and nice wet mud, they feel like they've got to roll around in the dust.
Meanwhile, back at the watering hole. Baby Ellie again. Just like that, they didn't work.
They go, and then they come back. The baby Ellie's hurrying to make sure nothing is missed in the way of drinking. Aftermath of the Ellies. You can see that they have made a mud hole, and they've kind of messed up the pool. Not to mention the outside of the villa. Ellies up close can leave some aftermath, and we don't begrudge them because we love elephants, and all of our encounters with them have been very special to us. That concludes our video. If you've enjoyed this and you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the Silver Adventurer channel on YouTube. Thank you.